This is a high-grade 1966 Topps baseball card set. We're going to go through card by card. Zoom in there. And this is a set that's taken me years to put together. Try to get some good views along the way. If there's a card you'd like to look at more closely, pause the video. Try to get front and back. Go ahead and fast forward and rewind as you feel you need to. There are 598 cards in this video, plus backs. So that's quite a total. This set also comes with roughly 150 variations. (1966) had a lot of variations, many of which I've found as I'm collecting the cards. Here we've got a variation of Don Kessinger and some Jack Sanford variations. This one here on Don, there's a little slash, it's on the previous card. And here on Jack, if you see here, oops, well, that's hard to do. Right there he's got a dimple on his chin. Here there's no dimple in the chin. I've never heard anybody talk about that variation. But I found it. I'd say roughly 1 out of 3 cards have the dimple. So you go ahead and look for that dimple. Also the Pete Rose card, I'll show you in a second. See, it's got a smooth line on the right edge. Show you the difference on the other side. Here's the difference. It's got that little bubble, or whatever you call it, on that right edge. I would say that's about 40% of the cards, maybe less, have that little dimple. Here's a fun one. Don Landrum. Here we've got the partial button. That's the hardest one to find. Here, let's go back to that so you can see it. It's a really nice card. That's why it's on the front. I usually put the best card on the front. And sometimes not. Here's Don with a full button. And Don with no button. The Indian 66 rookie, right there. It's got a smudge on the rookie. I've seen that about 1 out of 10 cards. And these are all approximations. There's no real information out there. It's just me collecting and going throughout the years. Really nice Mickey Mantle. This one's really well centered. That's why I put that on front. Sharp corners, well centered. And then of course, I just like this one. This one's the sharpest cornered, cleanest looking Mickey Mantle I've ever seen, but it's completely off center. So I put it on the back. Couldn't get rid of it. I liked it too much. This card of Howie has blue by the H of his name. I've seen that a couple times, so not sure how rare that is, but there's not many of them. Merritt, the catcher for the Angels here. I'll show you a variation on the back. We'll get there. Actually, the way I have it set up, you can't see the variation, but on the back it has a sold sentence, and then that sentence is not on the other card. Carl Yastrzemski has a variation. If you look at the name Carl Yastrzemski, we'll flip it over in just a second. I'll start with that. It's got a little black on the A of Carl. There's a little black line. Seen that 1 out of 5 cards. Of course here, the Cleon Jones card, the black is faded. This Richie Allen card has a blue mark in the upper left corner. That's about 1 out of 5 as well, maybe 1 out of 7. Variation in Bob Uecker. There's a sentence about being traded, and then a card without the sentence. This set has both. Now the Yankees team card, the black dot in the middle, one is bigger than the other. I'm not sure what to think of that, so I kept it. Second series checklist, and Ed Kirkpatrick. I'll show you the variations. There's a white spot on Ed Kirkpatrick, and then of course on the checklist, if you look at number 115, it says Bill Henry. We'll look on the other side in just a second. And we got more variations on this sheet. Alex Johnson and Dick Groat. They both have sold lines or traded lines on them, and some cards do not have the traded lines on them. I've got both here. So you see that dot just above the head of Ed Kirkpatrick, that white, looks like a white light, a star maybe? Well, that's on, I'd say, 1 out of 7 cards. Number 115 is now Warren Spahn. They didn't make a card of Warren Spahn that year. I've got 2 Dick Groats because one of them has a line on the top. I just thought that was unique, so I kept it. Nothing special about Ernie Banks on this card, just liked it, so I kept it. Doesn't hurt to have an extra card of something you like. Same thing here, just off center with sharp corners, so I kept Harmon Killebrew. Here's something I've never heard anybody talk about on Ray Herbert. There's a yellow, I don't know, discoloration, as you can see on the left side. I'll flip back over so you see there's no yellow discoloration there. And no one talks about that. That is something. That's significant. I don't know how many cards I've seen there, a handful. I've got another one in my possession, but it's not as in good a shape. And I just have an extra Lou Brock because it's sharp but off center. Joe Torre real quick. See how the name Joe Torre looks smooth? Well, there's some discoloration here by his name here. Just unique, I kept it. Here's another sharp card but off center. Like to keep those. Don Dennis. Tons of fun with this card. A lot of debate. If you look at the word Cardinals, right about here, there's nothing there. But we go on this side. There's every phase of that red dot you see under the AR and Cardinals, cards I should say. There's less, even less, even less. So I kept every variation of that red dot that I could find, and that's the highest quality of each I could find up to this point. This Bob Johnson card just has kind of a, I don't know, starry background with a lot of white dots. I kept it. Rico Cartier, just liked it, sharp card, kept it. I tried to get cards that were more or less pack fresh. I'd love them to be centered, but I'll take Pack Fresh over centered. As you can see with Whitey Ford, this is a more centered card, so I kept it, but the one on the front is sharper. Jerry Lumpy, there's a white gash above the word second base. That's a variation. I don't know, it's about 1 out of 5. All estimates based on my collecting, subject to verification. Really like that Boog Powell. I always get a lot of really sharp Boog Powells. One of my favorite players. Makes it nice that there's a lot of good cards of him. Just like that Tito, so I kept it. Hard to get a good Vada Pinson. For you collectors out there, he must have been real popular. All the corners are messed up on most of his cards. It's actually one of the harder cards I had to get for that set. Just some printing variations. Jim Davenport has some black line on the right. Saw that quite frequently. Just like that Hector Lopez card. Kept it. Got another checklist variation we'll get to on the other side. And Chuck Dreesen, the manager of the Tigers. Another variation I've heard no one talk about. There's a little white gash above the CH in Chuck. It's about 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6. And there's the variation checklist with smaller printing. I tend to focus the variations I see on the front. Guess it's because I'm visual. Joe Morgan's going to have a variation on the other side. I'll show you that one. A little red gash by the S in Astros. Don't see that much. Only have seen that very few times. Dave McNally. Kind of a checkered white blue in the background. Just like this Don card. Here's sharp corners but off center, so I kept it. Got a variation coming up here. Found one off center. And then over here, that little, I don't know, print variation. Seen that a few times, about 3 of them. Finally kept one the second time I saw it. Couple variations coming up. Right here, Rich Beck. Just a problem with the printing. And I've seen that, I don't know, 1 out of 4. Just like this this card here of Larry, but it's off center. Real sharp but off center. I like to keep those. Can't get rid of the ones that are pack fresh and sharp. Dodgers variation, it's got that yellow streak by National. Print variation. Fun stuff. Just hard to find a good Willie Stargell. Undecided, kept a lot of them for various reasons. Fun variation coming up here. Only seen it twice. Caught onto it the first time. Don Hefner looks like he's got a black eye. I guess it'd be on his right eye. Of course, Claude Osteen has a little bit of a print variation yellow above the O in his name. Kept both of those. Just off center for Buster. The checklist, red hat and black hat on the little guy there. This is the black hat version, the other side had the red hat version. Just a washed out background there. I just think I like that Louis Tant card, so I kept it. Can't pass up an autographed card. The Indians team card. There's a red dot between 5th place in American League. This is tough. This is about 1 out of 6, maybe 1 out of 8 to find this card. I'll show you the variation here in just a second. That one is a sharp card too, and there is no dot. This one just liked it sharp. It's got some blue variation on the left side right here. Diego just has some black up there, just some printing. I don't know how they print. Some of the cards get some smudge. Ray Barker's got a nice variation. Look at his face, nice and clean. If you look here, he's got a little dot on his cheek, a little black dot. It's about 1 out of 6 once again. Bill has a little red variation. And of course, Gene has a blue. Where's that mark? Right there. Yeah, well, that's hard to see. Braves team card. That's the no dot version. And Ron Fairley's got a nice variation here. I'll show you. There's the dot version. There's some printer defect. Just a sharp card there, Pete. More issues with printing. Just a sharp card around. Some difference in the background. Same thing here, solid blue. Over here, lighter blue. Just kept it. Jim King's got a neat variation. I've seen it twice. That green dot. Just like that Mel Nelson card. Dick Tracewski's got some variation here. This one just has some, whatever that is, printer aspect. I've seen that on a couple cards. So I kept it just like that Lee card of Lee, so I kept that. Hank, this is a famous one. Watch his name when we get to the other side. I'm sorry, not his name. Above the word pitcher, there's a blue line. It's a popular variation. Just like that Carter Brooks. Small black line here at the bottom. Kept it. There's a dot on the team card. And here are, well, I found two things. A no dot variation and then a really light dot. I kept them both. Don't hear anybody talk about it, but kept them. Just like that card of Bill. It's just some printer variations there. Here's a fun one here on Bob. Look at the trees behind his shoulder. right here. There's lots of variations on this one. They don't talk about them. There's a little bit of change. There's a nice purple change. And then there's the on fire change. I never hear people talk about the various phases of that variation. And then this Walt Bond. Got some smudge, but that's printer smudge. And there's a certain number of cards that has that. That's just a nice card I like. Look at that, Jim Bunning, more or less centered. That's hard to get a good centered one. Worked hard for that. More printer variation there, just a line through. Sixth checklist, number 456, R Sox rookies. See the change on the other side? This is where it gets a little tricky. See where it says Red Sox? The blue on the Mets has changed. That's more of a purple. That's more of a blue. And now we get into the semi-high series, where there are two different kinds of backs, a white back and then this traditional kind of tan back. And you'll notice that I have the tan backs on front and the white backs when I flip it over. So this comes with both kinds of 6th series or semi-high series cards. You can see the tan kind of underneath. These are the white ones on top here on the back side. Tried to get the best of each version I could. Took me quite a bit of time. Even within this, there are some variations still. Right here on Al, see it's nice and white. This is a very rare variation I'm going to see. I've seen about 7 cards total ever have this little red squiggle. We're about to get into the high series. It's checklist. Where is it? W Sox. And that says White Sox. Here's the high series. Really tough series to get. You can collect for years. This is I think, the hardest series to collect is the high series 1966. It'll cost you the most time and money. This right here just has a factory I don't know. The cardboard wasn't right. They printed it anyway. Thought that was fun. Kept it. Can't pass up an autograph. A little bit of a difference here with Jim Northrup. This is smooth. On the other side, there's this little defect. I don't know, it's about 1 out of 2. Roberto Pena, look at this corner, it's nice clean white. It's another fun one I really liked. I've not heard anybody talk about it. I'll show it to you in a second. There's a little blue dot. Where's that little blue dot come from? Who knows? But it's in a portion of them. I'd say, I don't know, maybe 30%, maybe less. Hard to say. I got a bunch in a row. Obviously some collector collected a certain number of printings and just happened to have a bunch. I happened to get it. I kept one. Just like those cards, kept them. It's a fun variation. The blue. And then if you look here, no blue. The imaginary cloud. Can't pass up a signature. And there you go. Thanks for watching.